Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 28th edition of Text Messages. It's April 29th, 2012. I'm the parasite of the show, Rick Tex. We're glad to have you here once again. It's Sunday morning. We got bright sunny skies. It looks like the high is going to be in the mid-60s today, so it's going to be a great day. It's going to make Elk River great again, make Minnesota great again. And one of the other things to be cautious of, ladies and gentlemen, is during the springtime, it's easy to get out, get excited, get a lot of sun, and laugh and smile and have a lot of fun outside. But sometimes you do need to pull back the reins a little bit. For example, probably the last couple of days or so, I got a little, not really so much of a rash, but there's sort of a burning sensation on the back of my hands here. It's mostly from being out in the sun, maybe a little bit longer than I should have been the last week or so. But I mean, based on the winter and how late it went into April, I was kind of thinking, well, this might be the last day of summer, so I had to enjoy every single day. And now it looks like we're going to have sun for a while, so that's definitely a great sign. Spring is in the air. It looks like all the snow has melted. There may be some various pockets here and there, but for the most part, it's mostly gone. So pretty soon we'll be able to get the plants outside, slowly transition them, stick them in the shade for a week, and then you can plant them into the ground. And yeah, at Menards they got this sale where you can get 6 vegetable plants for $1.50 a pop, so that's a pretty good deal. I mean, even if you don't have starter plants, then you can just head over there and buy a couple hundred plants for only, if they're a little less than 30 cents a pop. So if you got 100 plants, $30, so a couple. Yeah, I mean, you could spend $100 and get 300 plants. So that seems like a pretty reasonable deal. I mean, if you think about how much money you'd actually spend on the vegetables and the fruit, if you're buying any. Well, they're mostly all vegetable plants. Fruit mostly grows on trees and bushes. So, yeah, there probably is. Maybe they got some strawberry and raspberry plants there, but for the most part, it's probably vegetables, peppers, broccoli, cauliflower, eggplant, acorn squash, jalapenos, which is a pepper, radish. They got, I mean, they sell onions and other things like that and garlic, but those tend to get a little bit more spendy. So if you want to just have some massive garden, yeah, just do a bunch of the vegetable plants, and then that'll definitely make yourself great again. And it's good to have a chest freezer too. Then you can store all this stuff over winter time, or just leave it outside, in a safe container. But problem with leaving things outside is there is a lot of temperature fluctuation, and sometimes even in the middle of winter time, the temperature gets above freezing. So this past winter, for example, there's probably a week in maybe January, or probably was January. Maybe not a week, but there's a couple days where it got to almost 40 degrees. So if you left stuff outside and it gets to 40 degrees, then it's going to go through a slight thawing cycle. So it's a good idea. I mean, yeah, I suppose for the most part, you can leave stuff outside and it'll freeze and everything, and you'll be happy and it'll preserve the food. But when it cools off and it warms up a little bit, it goes down a temp below, back up to 30 degrees. When you have those, that's usually when you get the freezer burnt, or you get the all that frost that accumulates on the foods inside your freezer. Well, I mean, in the freezer it happens because it's over such a long period of time. But if you leave it outside, see, the temperature fluctuation in a freezer might only be 10 degrees tops. But outside, it could be 30, 40 degrees, or 50. If it gets, lowest I've ever seen a thermometer is 30 degrees below 0 Fahrenheit. And, it could get up to 40, maybe even 50 degrees in January on occasions. If you get the really strong south wind and sunny conditions, clear skies, bright blue sky, the temperature could definitely warm up a lot more than you would ideally want it to if you're freezing foods. I mean, yeah, 50 degrees in January would be pretty awesome, pretty nice. Probably get a lot of people with their motorcycles outside and things of that nature too. But for the most part, yeah, if you're gonna have a lot of vegetables, make sure you got the chest freezer. Then you can eat them fresh as you're. I'll usually eat them fresh as they're growing, and then you can freeze them and store them over winter time. Then you have. See, it's nice to be able to get. That's why it's nice to try to have a couple hundred plants. Then you can have enough to nourish you over the winter time, rather than just eating it and then early fall they're already all gone. Then you got to go to the store and buy the vegetables without a synthetic pesticides, herbicides, and fertilizers on it too. So it is nice to avoid that and to not eat weird glyphosate and neonicotinoids and all that stuff. So if you can avoid that, that would be ideal. Then you can make yourself healthy and just contribute more to society and make yourself great again, which is ultimately the goal. So with that being said, we're on a Sunday morning. As far as NASCAR goes, I'm not sure if they're going to have a race today or if they had one last night or what they deal with. Apparently they had a night race last weekend. The night races are kind of cool and interesting and all that, good fun stuff, but for the most part I'm more of a Sunday afternoon type guy. And that's when it's actually on television, which makes a big difference. Or when it's actually on antenna television. I mean, if it's on one of those goofy channels, FSN or NBC, SN, I mean, it's no point in watching it then. I mean, who really wants to pay $80 a month to watch TV when you can pretty much go online and get any entertainment you want? So with that being said, we're gonna okay. So I wanted to tell you a little bit about some the seeds, for example. Seeds are a very healthy source of consumption, especially if you're an Atkins or anabolic diet, or if you got diabetes and stuff like that, or if you don't want to eat carbohydrates. Seeds are an excellent source. They have both protein and fat, and probably got a bunch of the plant's DNA in it too, which I don't know if it has an adverse effect on you or not, but it may or it may not. You've probably heard about a lot of seeds, flax seeds, chia seeds, pumpkin seeds, sunflower, hemp seeds. They're all great sources, as long as you're getting them cleanly sourced. If you're getting them from a clean, local, organic grown farm, then they're definitely great. Again, well, the other thing with seeds is the outer layer is very strong. It's very tough. It's evolved over hundreds of years, so you may not be able to even digest the seed. For example, one of the ways you can check is obviously. Don't mean to get graphic here, but obviously you can look at fecal matter and determine whether seeds are being digested or not. Corn kernels are one of those things where they don't really digest, and flax seeds I've noticed they don't either. So what you can do is, that doesn't mean just not eat them entirely, but you can buy milled versions of them. So they pulverize them, and then they get rid of that outer strong layer, the phyto casing or whatever it's called. So if you can get that off the seed, and then it helps you to actually digest the food, then obviously that's a good thing, and that's probably something you want to do. Now, most of the time when you do buy foods, it's better to try to get them in their wholer state. Like if you're going to buy olives, for example, it's probably better to get a whole olive rather than a sliced olive, because with a sliced olive, it's just going to provide more surface area to grow weird bacteria or to have weird preservatives on it and everything, or more surface area for pesticides or fertilizer or herbicides to linger on. So more times than not, if you're in doubt, just see, like when I was first buying seeds, I figured I'd just buy the whole seed because why not? But then I found out that they don't really digest too good. Your body, with all of its intricate systems, can't even break down the outer layer of a seed. Then I realized that it's probably a good idea just to get the milled seed version. Now, as far as oatmeal goes, I mean, is it better to have milled oatmeal or the whole oatmeal? It's up to you. It's hard to say. You can try eating different versions to see if they. It's very difficult to tell how they affect your digestive tract, but you can kind of eat one here and there, and then just maybe you can run some experiment where oatmeal is the only thing you eat all day, and then you do that a couple, not like 5 days in a row, but you do it one day, wait a couple weeks, do it another day, wait a couple weeks, do it another, and then then you can sort of accurately compare the whole oatmeal with the milled oatmeal to see which one is superior or easier to digest. Now, you will see arguments out there, the whole oatmeal is healthier than the milled oatmeal, and yeah, it may or may not be true. You can't really, unfortunately, you can't really believe everything you can read. But if you feel absolutely no difference at all in digestion, then yeah, just go with the whole stuff. So that's basically, common sense is the first line of reasoning that we go with. And then, yeah, you can look into your research papers and look into the details and everything too, and determine what's going to make you great again, and figure things out, because, most scientists working on this stuff are honest, hardworking, morally upstanding people that just want to make their communities great again, so they're just going to try to get accurate information. And unfortunately, a lot of science is pay to play, where corporations say you should do a study on this so you can prove this, and then we can make a lot of money off of it. And sadly that's sort of how our society, I mean, it's capitalist. It's capitalist for the bottom 95%, and then socialist for the top 5%. It seems to be how our society is driven. So a lot of the scientists, some of the projects they're working on, and they kind of set up experiments to favor the results they're looking for too. So you always need to be careful. Like I said in past talk shows, it's important to know who's funding these researching projects, so then you can get an accurate gauge of what exactly. What you need to look out for, the pitfalls, or whether they're operating on some chicanery or trying to bamboozle you or anything like that. So I mean, that's extremely important. I mean, yeah, now I realize, like, if you go online and go to certain websites, some websites will be all anti-government, this, that, and the other thing, or some websites will be all anti-big pharmaceutical or anti-corporations that sell sugar to kids. And for the most part, those are probably the ones that I would gravitate towards. So I'm telling you, full disclosure here, that I do have a bias. I want you, the ladies and gentlemen at home, to be healthy people. So if I've experienced firsthand the deleterious effects of certain companies or entities or corporations have inflicted upon me, then I'm usually going to err against them or opposition to them, not for them. Certainly not. So that doesn't mean that everything you say is 100% accurate. I mean, if you're anti-vaccination, for example, that doesn't mean everything about vaccinations is bad, but maybe 80% of it is or something. So conspiracy theorists, for example, whenever you hear conspiracy theories, then it's all, chemtrails, lizard people, they just flat earth, just all this goofy stuff that makes absolutely zero sense to try to mitigate the seriousness of the ones like the JFK or 9/11 or Sandy Hook or Coward County or these other, Las Vegas even. These other things that happen that just have really weird storylines behind them. And the really weird thing about them is how they're instantly solved after one day. I mean, there's no further developments of any of those cases, which is completely baffling to me, because the FBI, the DEA, the HFDA, the BB King, they can't even solve random murder cases. So how can they solve these big, elaborate, hatched plans in just one day? It's just weird. But there are a lot of odd things that go on in society, and then the more you sit back and observe what's actually going on too, it helps to get different news sources and just to get different people's perspectives too. I think the problem for a lot of people is they're such good people and they just want to raise a family and work hard that they don't understand that bad and evil people actually exist. Me personally, I'm probably about 5 to 10% evil, bad person. Just enough to understand how it works and how it operates and how it does manifest itself in worldly occurrences. So, the whole "it takes one to know one." So, that's why I don't completely eradicate it from my mind, because I feel it's important to recognize it and to, obviously not to actively indulge in it, but just to be aware that it exists and to help point other good people that, hey, this stuff goes on, just be wary of it. And obviously you want to give your kid stuff they want, candy, popsicles, lollipops, all that. But you should know that it's extremely dangerous, it's damaging, they're gonna have serious long-term effects from it, and it's more or less a drug. Sugar should basically be right up there with cocaine or methamphetamines or heroin. I mean, just because you can take it orally and it's available on store shelves absolutely does not mean that it's safe. Just because it's in 80% of our foods. See, here's one of the main problems. Most people determine their health relative to somebody else. But if everybody is under the same poisoning system, then how do you know whether you're truly healthy or not? I mean, you say, okay, yeah, say for example, you measure your height or your strength or your weight. Those are all relative measurements. I mean, we really have no idea what our true limitation is in those facets, but we say, okay, yeah, if you're 200 pounds, that's above average for a human, so you must be a healthy person if you're looking to be a heavy person. But I mean, do you really know that? I mean, maybe everybody should be 300 pounds of pure power pack muscle and 7 feet tall if we were healthy people, not being systematically dumbed down. Who are we to know? So just keep that in mind, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, humans have very, very high ceilings, and you really don't know what you got till you put yourself to the test to be the best of the best. Something so strong carries you along. And just try to use common sense when you determine things too, because if you want to feed your kids sugars and high processed, highly refined carbohydrates, to just be aware of the long-term effects and what it's going to happen to them, and that when you grow old, they're probably not going to be able to support you because they'll have a plethora of problems, an array of ailments themselves due to their unhealthy habits that were established at a young age. And could you be at fault? Maybe, maybe not. It's very hard to say. There's a lot of pernicious forces out there that are just seeking out to destroy anyone and everyone, and even for older people too. Right? If you're over the age of 18, there's really no reason to at least try to somewhat look into the type of foods you're consuming or the type of lifestyle you have, or whether 5G cell phones are poisonous or not, or whether they're harming you. It doesn't take a lot of time to try to look up and research that, and to try to run some experiments on yourself, for example, too. Probably anybody can tell you if they're going to sit in front of a computer screen for 3 hours straight, they're going to have massive headaches and just feel down and depressed and angry and agitated. And that should tell you that obviously you don't want to sit in front of a computer for 3 hours straight. So now if your job requires you to sit in front of a computer for 8 hours, then try to mix and match, walk around every hour, or have more, try to find and take up more activities outside of the cubicle or outside of your computer and everything too. And then too, you can try working, different screen filters, or maybe change their contrast or their color or the brightness too. One of the things that I try to do on my computers, I try to keep the brightness on the absolute lowest setting. That way, if you use it at night, it doesn't have as bad of an effect on you. You can still hopefully go to sleep at a reasonable time. And it is important too to at least try to read books or something before going to sleep. And then right before you go to sleep, it's probably a good time to read and try to write some information in your mind. Then it's easier to remember it, and just to record and store it away somewhere in memory. Nobody really knows where memory is stored, but they might say, hypothalamus or whatever the case is. But nobody, memory could be something as simple as light. You see it, you process it, and then you interpret it. So memory could be transmitted from some higher force. Nobody really seems to have a good handle on that too. And the human brain, the human body, and just life in general is a very intricate study and complex. And people try to come up with answers, but it's just when you try to derive man-made solutions to God-made, not problems obviously, but to God-made systems, then you try to rationalize it by explaining it in man-made terms, and man-made terms just can't hold a candle to God-made systems. So does that mean it's a fruitless endeavor? Maybe, maybe not, but it is important to at least have some idea of how these God-made systems are operating, so that we can try to use them to the best of our ability, and make ourselves great again too. Because if you can study, if you're eating seeds and you can tell they don't digest, in a way you kind of are studying a God-made system and saying, okay, yeah, these seeds don't digest, I should probably eat milled seeds instead. So I suppose that's kind of one example there, but maybe not the best example. We're going to have to go to break, ladies and gentlemen. Pretty soon in the near future, we're going to have a show called Good Times, Balls Deep. We might call it Good Times, Serious Business. There might be multiple shows. Maybe one will be Good Times, Balls Deep, and the other will be Good Times, Serious Business, because you don't want to have a good time all the time, because that's not what builds society. You need to get serious every once in a while, and put your head down and really get after it and get work done and all that good fun stuff. But good times are also important too, because what would life be without good times or awkward situations? So that's why it's important to have good times, balls deep. And like I alluded to earlier, the host is procuring sponsorships and everything. And me personally, I got to try to procure some sponsorships for this show, and hopefully get a better speaker maybe. And I don't know if I'll upgrade the insanely expensive camera, but certainly everything else seems to be up to spec. So you don't really need much to run a talk show, and maybe hire on some more producers, or to have better health articles, and maybe see if I had better health articles and current events and researches, then maybe we could do a couple hours, 5, 6, 7, 8 days a week, and to make you, the ladies and gentlemen at home, great again. So ultimately that's the most important thing, that you guys are getting a positive experience. Yeah, having a good time is important, but sometimes you got to get serious too. So there's also that to consider. And good times, balls deep will definitely be a yeah, it'll be obviously a good time first and foremost, but it'll tackle some serious and mundane and important topics. But it'll present it in an entertaining way to hopefully make St. Cloud great again. So we should be having that in the near future once the host can procure some sponsorships. But in the meantime, you're listening to text messages, and we should be back in about 4.5 minutes, it looks like. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Text Messages. I'm the parasite of the show, Rick Text. We're glad to have you here. It's Sunday, April 28th, 2018. It's the 27th episode. It's April, one second. It's April 29, 2018. It's the 28th episode of Text Messages. So we're glad to be broadcasting from Elk River, Minnesota. And I was looking in the other day. I was trying to see if Elk River had a public access channel, but apparently it doesn't really have one, or it does have one, but it's very flimsily maintained or coordinated. So and it would be nice to get on the 2 a.m. time slot for prime time on public access. So maybe we'll go to St. Cloud and see if they have any public access slots available at 2 in the morning, and then try to get on there, along with hopefully getting Good Times Balls Deep on there too. But I think if we were to use this show as a platform to promote Good Times Balls Deep, then when people would tune in at 2 in the morning to watch it, then they could get excited about Good Times Balls Deep and know that it's a local show, and it's got very crucial and vital information for everybody's likeness, or for their entertainment too. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, today we're mostly talking about seeds and how they're healthy and they got good sources of protein and fat. Seeds don't. Some of them might have carbohydrates in them, but for the most part, it's just protein, fat, and plant life. I mean, it's the essence of a plant's existence. Normally, I suppose, eating seeds does seem kind of strange, but I mean, you got sunflower, pumpkin, hemp seeds, and flax and chia. They're all very healthy sources. And even when you eat vegetables, tomatoes, maybe not. Yeah, I suppose broccoli and cauliflower, that you're basically eating the seeds off of them too. So, I mean, the plant puts a lot of, like berries. They're just, when you're eating berries, you're like a strawberry. The outside of strawberry is just a whole bunch of seeds. That's kind of really all it is. So, I mean, the plant puts a lot of effort. So here's how plants work. A plant will make a big strawberry. So you got the big red, bulgy, plump thing that attracts a lot of birds and chickens and humans and stuff. So the idea is that the seed is so strong that it can go through the animal's digestive tract, and then wherever the bird or the human or the animal leaves, or wherever they may roam, they'll leave the seeds. After they eat the food, process it, and digest it, they'll crap out the seeds somewhere, and then the plant can grow. So that's why the wall of a seed is so strong. It's made to go through a mammal's digestive tract, or a fowl's digestive tract. So, that being said, it probably is better to get milled seeds whenever you can. Now, for other foods, Whole Foods is probably better. Not Whole Foods, the Amazon on Whole Foods, but to buy foods that are whole, and to buy foods that are completely all together and intact and aren't hacked up and cut up and sold in cans or whatever. But as far as seeds goes, milled seeds is probably the way to go, just because seeds are essentially they're designed to go through your digestive system without digesting them. So, I mean, if you're eating whole flax seeds, it's probably not doing anything for you. Just scratching up your insides from just running through your entire digestive tract, and who knows what else it does to your body, but it probably has some deleterious effects. So, yeah, it's a good idea to get milled seeds too. And now, one of the more healthier seeds is that I want to talk about. Get into a little bit of detail here. I was looking at an article last night. Hemp seeds. One of the problems we have with hemp, though, is it has a little bit of THC, which is the active component of marijuana. Even though marijuana is still, they're kind of determining on a national level whether it should be just a state issue, or whether they should just finally legalize or decriminalize it and just leave it up to the states whether it's legal or not. So it is a it is a hot button issue and all that stuff, and nobody really knows if it should be legal or illegal. Everybody that condones or that advocates for one means or the other seems to have a compelling argument. So currently, I guess, it might be at somewhat of a stalemate. But see, hemp, you probably, if you ever read anything about hemp, the Ford Model T was originally designed to run off hemp oil, and hemp makes very strong fibers and rope and all that stuff too. So it's a very great plant. It's a wonderful plant. And one of the things, hemp seeds though, they're very healthy seeds. They have a 1-to-3 omega-3 to omega-6 fat ratio. One of the things that, apparently, one of the things they found out with cow milk is when cows roam pastures and graze on open fields and eat grass, they have a far greater ratio of omega-3 to omega-6 fat. So supposedly omega-3s are, maybe the better fat, I guess you could call them. Now, someday, I should make a note here and try to at least go into some depth about what omega-3 is relative to omega-6, but like omega-3 is in tuna or fish liver oil and all that stuff, which supposedly it makes your blood less viscous so that it gives you more energy because your blood is just pulsating through your body at a higher velocity and rate of speed and isn't being bogged down by the omega-6s. That's the other thing with cholesterol too. Apparently cholesterol, what we've always been thinking of as cholesterol poisoning or whatever you want to call it, or excessive cholesterol, it's mostly omega-6s that build up in your bloodstream, and the omega-6s cause scarring in the arteries, so then the cholesterol has to go in and try to cure it. So when you have lots of cholesterol in your blood, it's because it's a healing property from the omega-6 fats that are scarring your arteries from the viscous blood and all that stuff too. So that's why it's important to try to get omega-3 fats, when possible, like olive oil. I'm talking about the legitimate olive oil, the stuff from California, the olive oil that comes from Italy and Spain could be adulterated. Nobody really seems to know. There have been some articles lingering online about how the olive oil that comes from Italy is actually mostly canola oil or probably motor oil, so it's just some really bad stuff. So it's important to get the high virgin olive oil inside the glass container. Make sure it's a dark color container because the light will actually cause the oil to break down and to become stale. So it is important to consider the bottling too. And I got an olive oil bottle from 5 years ago that I still use as a water bottle. It looks like a bottle of Jägermeister, but it makes for a decent conversation piece here and there. And then if people can recognize that, drinking water out of a glass bottle is probably a good idea. But you also want to clean it every once in a while too, otherwise it'll accumulate all the bacteria and then you just drinking bacteria all the time. So you don't want to do that, and it's probably not the good bacteria either, because usually any bacteria that, let's say, out of all the bacteria that exists in the world, maybe only 1% of it is actually healthy for you. So if you're gonna expose something to external sources of bacteria, chances are pretty good they're not gonna be healthy for you. Now, fermented cheese and yogurt and everything, that's got healthy bacteria because it's it's in a very controlled environment, so they're putting the healthy enzymes in there. That's why hard cheese is a very great source of probiotics or prebiotics, whatever you want to call them. And same with yogurt. Yogurt's pretty expensive, and it's got a lactose in it too, so for diabetic or anabolic diet or Atkins people, it's not a very good thing to have. But hard cheese is a very good thing. The longer the cheese is aged too, then the more enzymes it's going to have. So there's also that to consider, ladies and gentlemen. Me personally, I'll just eat maybe two times a day. I'll take a solid block of cheese and just cut off 2 ounces. Then it's about 200 calories, and then just eat that. It tastes great. Once you train your taste buds to eat just plain whole foods, then it tastes great. Like Saturday and maybe even Sunday, if I'm loading up on carbohydrates, I'll eat a couple spoonfuls of just regular pure honey. The stuff that's still got all the enzymes, it's not unpasteurized, and it hopefully comes from a local farmer. If I eat the honey and then I go to eat some cheese, the cheese absolutely doesn't taste very good. The honey coats your taste buds, and the sweetness it makes it so that you're not really stimulated by the regular cheese anymore. So there is a way that you train your taste buds, and over time you no longer crave sweetness, but the times when you do eat it, you still somewhat enjoy it, but you don't really crave it in that sense. If you're eating sugar all day, every day, any day of the week, and then you just cut it out entirely, you're gonna crave it for a while because your brain has all the circuitry in it, and it's just getting ready to crave the sugar. So, but it is important to train your taste buds to try to eat good foods, and you may see the arguments out there. Oh, if something tastes good, it has to be healthy for you, and it's it. Which isn't necessarily true, because if something is healthy for you, it's because it does good positive things to your body. It makes you feel good, not only short term after you eat it, but long term as well. So there's also that to consider. A lot of antifreeze tastes good too, but it's not something that you want to be eating all day. Hell, if you drink a cup of antifreeze, you'd probably be dead. So definitely I would advise against doing that, and probably shouldn't have even brought it up as an example, but I mean, all these colorful liquids around your house too. I mean, there's poison all around you. It's just, that's why it's important to keep things locked up and away from children too. I mean, hell, when I was a young kid, I don't know if it was a bottle of bleach or whatever it was, but it was some colorful liquid, and then I poured it in the fish tank, and of course all the fish died from it, and that's completely 100% my fault. I'm sure karma will come back at some point if it hasn't already. So that's why it's important to always lock up these dangerous fluids, especially if you have kids, and even adults too, because if it comes into contact with anything you eat, or even if you get it on your hand and then you start eating tree nuts with your hand and you didn't wash your hands, you got hydrofluoric acid on your hand or whatever, then, which I guess would probably burn right through your hand. But if you have something like bleach or antifreeze on your hand, you're eating with your hands, it's just, yeah, it's in a mostly diluted form, so it's probably not horrible for you, but it's just, if you can avoid introducing chemicals and poisons to your body, then go ahead and do so. Otherwise, you're just going to expend extra calories to build up the toxins to fight it off. And if you can use extra calories to rebuild your muscles and rebuild your tendons and rebuild all your organs and replace your cells and get rid of your antioxidants or get rid of the oxidative cells, it's better to do that than introduce chemicals and toxins to your body, and then you got to use the extra calories to take care of that. The other thing with hemp seeds is they have essential fatty acids, EFAs. That's one of the things about Atkins diet or anabolic diet is there is no such thing as an essential carbohydrate, but there are essential fats and proteins. So I mean, your body's cells aren't made out of carbohydrates. As a matter of fact, antioxidants are probably the result of carbohydrates or oxidative cells. Free radicals are probably carbohydrates that break down or that are unstable or whatever the case is. So if you're just eating fats and protein, then see, if your body stores fat as fat, it's probably going to be a lot more efficient for you to just eat fat. So then if you want to store it, it can store it right away. If you want to burn it, it can burn it too. And then protein is, like every cell of your body has protein. So protein and fats, very important. Carbohydrates, yeah, I mean, it's a good source of quick energy, and suppose your brain uses a lot of glucose, which is, I guess, a carbohydrate, but your body can synthesize all that junk too, so it's not like if you eat just fats and proteins, you're all of a sudden not going to be able to think anymore. So you keep that in mind. Hemp seeds add 20 amino acids, which is protein. 8 the body can't produce. So yeah, it's a good thing to introduce those to your. Now, yeah, if the body can't produce it, I mean, is it really that important? Maybe, maybe not. So your body has minimal functioning systems and then optimized functional systems too. So I mean, what you want to get out of life is based on what you're willing to put into your body and willing to sacrifice. So if you want to be if you want to work road construction all day, you're going to have to be cardiovascularly fit, probably a fairly strong person, and be immune to sunburn and suntan. So you have to slowly adapt yourself to those conditions. And if that means consuming certain types of food that help you adapt to them systems more efficiently or better, then that's absolutely what you'd want to do. But I mean, for somebody who's just going to, raise children inside their house or maybe go on walks to the park and stuff, they're not going to have to, I mean, yeah, they want to be functioning at an optimal level too, but I mean, to work road construction all day is a lot harder than 99% of what people do in a typical life, so that's why it is important to have healthy foods, and why, if your body can't produce amino acids, it doesn't necessarily mean you don't need it. It just means that if you want to do great things, you probably should put it in your body if it's going to help you in any way, shape, or form. Now, it's going to harm you, yeah, then you don't want to, so there's also that. And it has gamma linonucleic acid, which supposedly is a pretty good thing. Hemp seeds, they got a lot of trace elements too. Vitamin E, manganese, magnesium, phosphorus, calcium, iron, zinc, and something else too. But yeah, those are all pretty good things. Obviously the more pure the source is, the better. The more local it is. May not always better, but hopefully better. As long as the soil is very nutrient rich and it's well nourished and it's got nice, good, deep black dirt, then you know that it's probably going to be very healthy stuff, and it's going to have all your iodine and calcium and zinc and everything too. And one thing that I should really look into more when I do this is, if you're studying broccoli, for example, what can the broccoli actually synthesize itself that you're eating, which is usually vitamins, and then what are the minerals that it's extracting out of the ground? So that's the other thing too. And then plants work with the soil to do, like plants introduce the soil to different chemicals and elements, and then the soil kind of reacts with that, and then that's why people do what they call crop rotation. They might grow soybeans one year and then corn the next year because it does different stuff to the soil. So that is probably one thing that I should really start trying to look into a little bit more, just providing a little bit more detail in a common sense fashion. But the thing is, though, I'm not a very smart guy, so usually when people explain stuff that seems complicating, it's because they don't really understand it. Now, if you can't explain something that makes sense to an 8-year-old, then you don't really understand it yourself. So if I were to start explaining, oh yeah, when you grow broccoli, it synthesizes vitamin C, then it sends the vitamin C in the soil, it reacts with the potash and the phosphorus, then the phosphorus creates the iodine or calcium or whatever, then when you plant cauliflower, the cauliflower can uptake that iodine and calcium next year. I mean, I don't really know that stuff. I mean, I just made up a bunch of names and nomenclature there, so don't take what I just told you as gospel. But yeah, I mean, I'll probably have to start researching that stuff, looking into a little bit more to provide you, ladies and gentlemen, with a more rich listening experience. And then you just try to be more efficient with your time. And it is, trying to memorize and keep everything in your head too makes it very difficult. If you just write down, okay, just formulate a plan. I use broccoli here one year, cauliflower here the next year, then put it on a map, say exactly what you're going to do this year, next year, the year after, and then have a good long-term plan. And then it's fun to improvise too. So yeah, we will try to get a little bit more into detail here, but I've been doing mostly a half-assed job lately, which I apologize to you, ladies and gentlemen at home. I think once we get good times, balls deep, rocking and rolling, then I can focus more on details rather than just plugging for good times, balls deep, and providing a more complex and intricate analysis of what's going to make people great again and healthy and all that stuff too. And most of it is just documenting your progress, seeing what works, what doesn't, as far as growing gardens and plants and everything too. But if I can provide you with simple information like, if you find this type of rock, pulverize it and put it in your soil, and this rock will have manganese in it, and hot peppers can take manganese and put it into the pepper, and then it's healthy. If I can figure out stuff like that, I'll definitely try to inform you, the ladies and gentlemen at home. But like I said, I'm not a very smart guy. I don't research and read probably as much as I should, and some of this, there is a lot of heresy and farces out there too. So can't always believe what you read. But we're coming up to a break, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to have good times, balls deep, in the near future. Hopefully we can procure some sponsorships for that. And yeah, I'm working on procuring it. Last Wednesday I was supposed to meet with a sponsor for this show, but we had to cancel. So this Monday I'm going to meet again, hopefully with a sponsor. And yeah, if we can get a sponsor for this show, then definitely I'll probably be putting a lot of money and investment into it to try to make it great again. Maybe hire on some more producers, get a better speaker, maybe get a tripod, and then get the show on the road a little bit too. So we'll see. I mean, the possibilities are endless. But we'll be back in 3 minutes. You're listening to text messages on the Parasite Rick Text. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Text Messages. It's April 29, 2018. You're listening to the 28th episode of Text Messages. I'm the Ferris side of the show, Rick Text. We're glad to have you here once again. Just steaming ahead here, chugging forward. Now, the other day, there's a... See, one of the things we talked about before is indoor plants and all that good fun stuff. So, the other day I cleared, there's a few south-facing windows here, so I cleared a space in front of the south-facing window, just went down to the local store, bought about $100 worth of indoor plants, and then just stuck them there. So I mean, if you got the space, it's a good idea to put in just as many indoor plants as you can. I mean, they look good, they smell good, they bring life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness to the inside of your house. And what I found is that the sun is, obviously, the sun rises every day, but sometimes there's a lot of clouds that cover it too. So it's not always predictable how much light you're going to get. So it seems that medium to low light plants are probably superior for indoor plants. Now, depending on what climate you're living in too. I mean, if you get sun 24 hours, most of the day, pretty much all day, year round, then you can probably go with the bright light ones. But if you get the medium to low light plants, then it allows you just more versatility on where you're going to put them. And now, that doesn't mean you can just put them in the middle of your kitchen and hope they're going to grow. I mean, it is nice to have a south-facing window, at least give them a chance and all that stuff too. So I mean, I figure that'd be a good allocation of time and resources and energy to try. And then one of the things too, when you buy the plants, it's a good idea to just stick them in a bigger pot, because you really don't know how long they've been growing in the store. I mean, they might have roots that are just wrapping around the plant and choking it basically, so it is a good idea to just get it in a bigger plant. Then you can kind of pull it out of its original plant and see what the roots look like, if they're bulging at the seams or anything. I mean, it takes a little bit of time and everything too, but I mean, if you get plants of different sizes, you can kind of take the small pots, move it, you can take the big plant, move it into a bigger pot, then take the small plant, move it into the medium-sized pot. So save all your stuff too. And your 5-gallon buckets, if you drill a few holes in them and you don't crack them and they're in decent shape, then those work pretty good for large planters too. I mean, if you're gonna have those indoor trees or Draconia plants, whatever they are, Aragonia, then you can just drill a few holes in the 5-gallon bucket and fill it up with dirt and stick it, clean it off obviously, and then stick it in your house somewhere and just have some plastic catch container for water if you water and water gets out. Dirt's gonna go out too or fall through the cracks too occasionally. So it's a good idea just to maintain a clean environment. I mean, obviously you don't want to get water all over your house and then get water damage and start growing mold and then black mold, and then the indoor plants create more of a harm than they do help you. So during summertime it's not a big deal. You can leave your windows open most of the time. But during wintertime, it's very helpful to have indoor plants like that. And then they just create a more healthy environment and get pollutants and toxins out of the air. One thing you'll find is that, especially if you live in big city lights, big city nights, that the air outside is almost consistently cleaner than the air inside. And you got filters on your vents and all that, on your furnace and all that junk too. So I mean, that helps to get rid of some of the dust in the air. But it just helps to have the plants, because plants will suck different pollutants out of the air and it'll grab sun from outside and then bring it back inside. And that doesn't mean that the plants will block all the hot air from the sun. It just means that the plant will be sitting inside, the sun will be shining on the plant will be sucking up the energy from the sun, and whatever energy the plant doesn't use, it'll give off as heat. So you're not losing anything by having indoor plants, except maybe a little bit of space. If you're if you're one of those pack rats and you got your house packed floor to the ceiling, then maybe losing a little bit of space would be a big deal. But for the most part, for any normal functioning household, a few indoor plants here and there doesn't make a big deal. Any south-facing window that you can utilize is probably a good idea. And if you live out in the country or whatever, then you can just leave the windows open all the time too. Or if you live in the city and you got a bunch of neighbors that are right next to you, then you probably want to set up, maybe you could probably set up some automated system to where when the sun shines on the window, then the curtains raise. Or if you just want to raise them every morning and lower them every night too, that works as well. You can also angle the shade down so that based on the angle of the sun, it can still shine 50%. It can illuminate 50% of the plants, but then the other 50% is blocked out. So I mean, there's a little bit of loss there, but then you can leave the curtains closed all day or night or whatever the case may be. So I mean, me personally, where I live out here, I can just leave the windows open all the time, anytime, even in the bedroom too. I mean, yeah, it may seem kind of weird to have windows open at night, but you get used to it rather quickly. I mean, you might have some weird kid in the neighborhood in a clown suit on every once in a while, but I mean, it's stuff like that. Yeah, it can happen, but I mean, it's not a big deal. It's a small price to pay to have more sunlight on your plants and everything too. Because having the shades down, it might block a little bit of heat loss overnight and everything too, but for the most part, the additional effects you get from having sunshine into your house is obviously better. And sometimes the moon is pretty bright from the reflection from the lights it's getting from the sun too. So then sometimes even at night, the moon can shine into your house too, and maybe I'm sure it doesn't hurt the plants. It might help them somewhat too. Apparently, they might even get these really super high efficient solar panels that can also get something from the energy of the moonlight, or from the sun that's hitting the moon and then it's shining through the moon, or whatever the case may be. And yeah, hopefully solar panels get a lot more efficient. Plants are more or less a solar panel though. I mean, all the leaves on the plant, they're getting all their energy from the sun and putting it back into their roots and everything. So, and as far as maintaining indoor plants, it's liquid plant food and get the potting soil, whatever the case may be, or just get soil outside too. But apparently soil outside might have some weird parasites or whatever. So, yeah, I guess just the potting soil is probably a better thing. It's not real expensive, and then as long as you're putting plant food in it regularly, you probably don't really need to replace the potting soil that often. Maybe you don't ever need to replace it. I mean, I'm not really sure. I just always, every once in a while, I'll move on to a bigger pot or whatever the case may be. But that's about it, really. I mean, I suppose once you get to a huge pot, then what do you do? I mean, you're gonna have those 55-gallon drums inside your house full of dirt. So I mean, it's totally up to you as far as all that goes. But it's just good to have indoor plants, to have a nice variety, different color schemes and all that too. And low to medium light I found works best in the Minnesota climate here. So that's definitely the first avenue I would take if you go down to the local plant floral store and get indoor plants there. All right. That being said, ladies and gentlemen, it looks like we're coming up to the conclusion of the show in the next couple minutes here. So, not really sure if there's any worthwhile research papers to get into it at this point in time. I could probably save these for Tuesday. Yeah, it looks like tomorrow I'll hopefully be meeting with some potential sponsors, and then we can really they don't want to run commercials during the show, thankfully. They just want to me to fulfill some obligations to them and then receive financial compensation for the show. So yeah, through that, then I can invest more into the quality of the programming, maybe hire on some producers, maybe get some guests here and there, but who knows? We'll see about that. I mean, Good Times Balls Deep. They'll have a lot of maybe not co-hosts, but daily routine guests and everything too that'll provide some very insightful insight. And these are very scholarly individuals too, very very highly intellectual, smart people that can speak well and don't need speechwriters for them and everything, and they're good people as well. So they're well-intended, well-meaning people. So I think that'll definitely make Good Times Balls Deep a great show for you, the ladies and gentlemen at home. Hopefully it'll make you great again, and it'll probably make St. Cloud great again too. And it'll bring positive change, but things don't always need change. I mean, it's just sometimes the more things change, the more they stay the same, or it works like a cycle. I mean, being a progressive doesn't necessarily mean change for the worse or whatever. It's just you using common sense, and some things are worse than others, but I mean, it's just very, very difficult to stay up to date with what's supposed to be right, with right from wrong and good from bad and evil from good. So there is always that to consider, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I'm kind of rambling a little bit here too, but I mean, Good Times Balls Deep. It'll be happening in the very near future. The host is super excited about it. He's in the process of procuring a sponsorship now. It is very. I know I've been harping on it for a little while, and it is a slow-moving process. So, just be patient. Bear with us a little bit. We'll get after it and get it done pretty soon. Yeah, it is kind of weird that we're already in the 28th episode of text messages and we still haven't brought to you our flagship show yet. But quality takes time. I mean, what I've found is that if I'm working on a difficult, challenging project, yeah, sometimes it gets frustrating, you get flustered and bewildered and consternation, all that. But the longer it takes, then just the more satisfied you are when the job is complete. Quitting really isn't an option in most scenarios, but sometimes you do have to capitulate, but 98% of the time you really don't have to. But it is important to pick and choose your battles too. I mean, a long time ago I had this car that, I was going to put a turbocharged engine in and all that stuff too, and I did it, and I started up and it sounded like a tractor, so I was running out of money. I was just dumping money and time into it, and I didn't really know what the hell I was doing. So eventually I got to the point where it's just a big giant spider web that I wasn't able to untangle, and I didn't have the foundational supporting, and I didn't have the financial supporting. It just wasn't really focused too intently on it, and it just wasn't having a positive effect on my overall life. It was sort of draining me down and holding me down. It was like gravity just tripled. So eventually I had to cut bait and let the thing go. But I mean, could have I done things differently? Yeah, probably. But just take it for what it is, a learning experience. You move on, you move up, and move away. Just try to use it as maybe not a stepping stone, but you try not to let things like that hold you back, because I mean, if you don't try anything, you never fail. But does that mean you're a flawless person if you never fail because you don't try anything? Probably not so much. So that failure will happen occasionally, but you always got to try to put your best foot forward. But yeah, sometimes problems are insurmountable, and just for the most part, the net gain is just not worth the net loss. I had a job I had this one job a few years ago where I had to drive all the way across the metro area, and if it snowed, if it rained a little bit, then it would literally take an hour and a half in one direction, sometimes more. And that's just sitting in a car. So, you're sitting down there, you're scrounched over, you can't stand up, you can't get out of your car, look around, and it's high stress, high anger, and it was just a very bad experience. And yeah, I could have moved closer to work or bought a condo or whatever the case is, but then you got to consider the investments there and the transitions there and the long-term outlook of where you are and where you're at and where you think you're going. So ultimately I had to make the decision to cut bait. And I mean, occasionally, I had pretty deep roots here in Elk River, so I didn't really want to just up and move over in St. Paul or Oakdale and then just live over there, because number one, I didn't really know everybody I know is pretty much in St. Cloud, or maybe a couple people around the metro area, but mostly St. Cloud. So, but that's why Elk River is a good median or a meeting ground, or it meets the world halfway, because metro area is pretty close by, St. Cloud is pretty close by. So yeah, I mean, the job paid well. There's some really cool people that work. Pretty much everyone there was pretty cool too. I mean, yeah, I don't really think anyone there was a bad. There's like the CEO directly worked there too, the co-CEO or whatever, CFO, the next of kin. So yeah, just a great positive place to work at. I mean, it's too bad. It would have been nice to be a vagabond and just roam around, and then I could just easily move there, no problem. But once you lay your roots, it's hard to uproot them, and you just try to use experiences and get the most that you can out of it, and hopefully be a positive influence on other people too. But that's probably about the only job that I do occasionally not so much regret getting rid of, but just trying to think of what you could have done differently. I mean, there are some jobs that they run their natural course, and you think, all right, yeah, I've pretty much got everything I'm going to get out of this job, and it's just not part of your future plan. So you just move on and move up and move on with your life. I mean, delivering pizza, I delivered pizza till 22 years old or whatever, and at that point it's kind of like, all right, yeah, this it's going to be the same thing every day, all day, and can you really grow as a person doing the same thing every day, all day? Not really. I mean, yeah. If I'm doing a talk show every day, all day, yeah, it's technically the same thing, but you're going to hit different topics, different means of preparation. You can go into more detail. So a lot more avenues of creativity with running a talk show than delivering pizzas. That doesn't mean that if you deliver pizzas, you're a bad person, that you're a lesser person and you're not intelligent. It just means that, yeah, I delivered pizzas for about 5 years. It's a great job. It's a fun job. You got to drive around and work hard and play hard and all that, and pay decent. People are usually happy to get pizzas. I mean, health discussions set aside here, but for the most part, it's a great job for high school or kid, maybe early college. But I mean, beyond that, it's probably about time to grow up. Now, that doesn't mean that if you pick up a part-time job working at McDonald's or delivering pizzas that you're, a clown for doing that. I mean, it's just, yeah, it would be kind of interesting to work at McDonald's to see what the worst job on the face of the planet is really like. And it is kind of nice to have that rush too when everybody's coming in and trying to order food, and you got to work like a chicken with your head cut off and try to get all the orders right too. So it is fun to work in a high-paced environment like that. And as you get older and you get into more of your sedative jobs, you don't really have those opportunities much. So it is good to mix and match physical effort with thinking hard and fast and everything too. And I mean, most people that work at McDonald's are, just good, morally upstanding, hardworking people, and just, yeah, the circumstances in their life that led them to that employment are obviously different because, obviously Donald Trump probably isn't going to work at McDonald's, but, he was just born in different circumstances in his life. Most people that work at McDonald's, I don't know, maybe they're born to a single mom in some trailer park or weren't very wealthy people, and then they got to work since they were 12 years old. It's just, everyone has a different path in life, so just as long as you're hardworking, morally upstanding, not intentionally using your energy to harm other people or to use your influence to do bad things to other people, then you're probably a good person in the eyes of the Almighty, and certainly in the eyes of your peers. I mean, it does take energy to praise and heap adulation on other people too. So, I mean, if you feel that you're not getting the proper, credit, or if people aren't being as nice to you as you think they are, just know that it does take some investment of time and effort to go out of your way to thank other people. So, if you think you're doing thankless tasks, I mean, as long as in your heart you're a good person, then the Almighty sees you as a good person. Everybody else probably will too. Now, yeah, that doesn't mean that there might be somebody that comes along and sees that and tries to take advantage of it and crap on you and all that. I mean, yeah, it's not. You're not completely immune to that. It is still Earth. There's good and evil and right from wrong. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I'm the parasite of the show, Rick Tex. We're glad to have you here listening once again. Hopefully you'll join us again for Tuesday. And yeah, I got to meet with some sponsors tomorrow. I'm actually pretty pumped up about that. It's always fun to meet up with sponsors and talk to people and interact with people to see how they feel about the show and what. Nobody really provides any input. I mean, the producers will provide a little bit of direction, but for the most part, it's just all my creation, and everything just comes out of my mind. And unfortunately, what I have found in the past, though, is anything that I've done, any ideas that I've done that are successful, are usually ideas that I've just stolen from other people and run with them. So if I can find some good ideas to steal from other people and then just run with them, I think I probably will do that, because usually anything that I come up with organically, anything that I take from its embryonic stage into full maturity is just, people just don't really like it and think it's silly and ridiculous and don't understand the esoterics of it. But if I just steal other people's ideas and run with that, things are usually people find it more entertaining. So that, I probably will start trying to find more things to steal from other people for that purpose, just so you, the ladies and gentlemen at home, are more entertained. That's the important thing, is that you guys are entertained, that it's making your lives great again and your families great again too. So with that being said, I'm the parasite of the show, Rick Tex. We'll be back on Tuesday. Thank you very much for listening, ladies and gentlemen.